What up, Pod Squad? Welcome to an episode of Stripe It Like It Is Hot. It is episode 146. That's a lot of episodes, a lot of me talking. I'm wearing the 49ers jersey today. We're recording in December. It's December, right? Yeah. This is coming out in January. So this is my way of like willing the 49ers to make the playoffs, and hopefully by the time this comes out, January 14th, they're still around, still playing. Okay, I'm going to talk about snow removal, but I'm not going to talk about snow removal. Don't worry. So if you're in like Florida, you don't need to shut it off. Okay, keep listening. But what I am going to tell you is how I lost $21,000 in 6 months back in 2020. And I'm going to share with you some of the lessons from that so that you don't have to make similar mistakes. So even if you're not in snow removal, I think you can probably learn some lessons, and hopefully I entertain you with just how incredibly insane I used to run this company back in 2020, right? So in 2020, that's when I was working with my business coach. He asked me, how do you make money in the winter? And I said, I don't. I said, I got nothing to do in the winter. And he's like, doesn't it snow a lot up there? Like, shouldn't you do snow removal? And I was like, no, bro, I hate snow removal. And I gave him all these reasons why I hate snow. I've told this story before on the pod, but I basically told him, look, I don't like operating equipment. I can do it if I have to, but I don't want to. Don't like operating. Snow is unpredictable. I have no idea how much it's going to snow or not snow. So it's like I'm putting a lot of eggs and drinking the hopium that it's going to snow. A lot of contractors around here stink. Customers are like, they hate how much it costs, so they go for like low cost people. Blah, blah, blah. I just complained on and on and on. Cost of insurance was expensive. Gave him all these reasons. And I was like, I'm never going to do snow. And I thought I would convince him. I was like, hey, Meg, like, I'm not going to do this. And so he kind of readjusted and reframed it for me. He's like, so a lot of the problems that you said are problems that your competitors have as well. Like, they can't predict the snow. They can't get cheap insurance. They have to pay a lot of money. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And he's like, Cam, what has made laser to this point? Like, how have you grown this company? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I think the best thing about the company is that, like, I'm really good with people, and like, yeah, the work is good, but like, I'm really good at like managing people's expectations, and I'm good at selling them the solution, and I love people. And he's like, okay, so if that's true, he's like, and you're telling me that all your customers in your market like hate hiring a snow contractor, but you're also a guy that they like and trust. You're telling me that you're not going to do it because it costs too much insurance, which everyone else has the problem, or you don't know how much it snows, which everyone has that problem, or you don't know how to operate equipment, which you could hire someone to do. And he basically like reframed it as like, dude, he basically exposed my little like owner operator mindset, which is I have to do everything. And he's like, you don't have to operate equipment. Like, you could hire someone, you could just sell the work and manage it. You can control a lot of those things that you described by like having a good offer, a good sales process, all that crap. And I was like, well, dang, man, I think you're right. And then fast forward, like basically 8 months later, decided to started to sell snow contracts, which was very uncomfortable for me. I basically coach people on this now, but at the time, trying to sell a service that you've never actually done in your business, like in the company, is a very large mental hurdle to cross. Like, I didn't have snow equipment. I didn't have a ton of experience like running a snow company. I had experience hiring a contractor for snow, but I didn't know like how to run the company doing it. And so now my business coach was encouraging me to go to my customers to sell them on the idea of signing a snow contract with Laser. And I was like, well, this is uncomfortable. Like, I was the guy that needed to see the plow in the driveway. You know what I mean? Before I was like, well, I'm now in snow. Very uncomfortable. Happy to report I'm not that way now. And I actually help people kind of overcome that when they're introducing new services. But we basically put the plan in motion, and I started talking to those customers, and I tried to get some sales going, but honestly, I left it a little bit too late in the season. That was my first problem. I waited too late in the season. So there's a good lesson in there for you, whether you're in snow or not, right? Get ahead of the season. Use those off seasons or the shoulder seasons when things are quieter to like get in front of customers for sealing, for striping, and for snow removal way in advance. That way, like when the demand comes, you will be ready because you've pre-sold stuff over here. So I waited a little bit too late in the year, and by the time I started prospecting customers, that combined with my extreme hesitancy and the discomfort of selling something that I just didn't, was uncomfortable doing, that undoubtedly was, shown through and when I talked to people. It was a terrible snow year. So I literally rented the worst possible piece of snow equipment you could have ever imagined, because remember, I didn't own it. I went to a vehicle rental company and they rented me this like Ford F-350 diesel long box crew cab truck. So imagine like the longest possible truck, which if you're plowing a parking lot is not the best thing. You kind of want something to be nimble. And it had a straight 8-foot blade or like 7-foot blade on the front. So just imagine this hunk of red metal on the front with just a straight blade. It didn't have wings, didn't do anything like that. It was just like a truck with a plow that went up and down. And I was like, let's go make some money. And the plan was, in addition to selling work, I was also like, you know what I could do? There's a shortage of contractors. Like I could subcontract the truck to some of the bigger snow companies. So I phoned a couple of them, well, a few of them. Most of them were like, no, thanks. But a couple were like, yeah, that'd be fine. And so my intention was, okay, my big competitor, like you have like a ginormous property at Walmart or whatever. Like when you get a big snow event, just call me and I will send my guy in the truck and we'll plow it for you and we'll just charge you hourly. And so we built out this plan where I was like, I think this could work. Spoiler, it didn't work. It didn't snow that much that year. And by the time we got to like March, I had realized that after I took all of the money that we invoiced and subtracted the cost of the truck rental, the labor for my guy to run the truck, the insurance, because the insurance went from basically like $500, $1,000 a year to $12,000 for the year. By the time I factored all those costs in, plus a few others, I lost $21,000 in 6 months. Like literally, I could pull the profit and loss report, the income statement in QuickBooks, and I was like, oh man, negative $21,000. Do you know how special and stupid you have to be to lose $21,000 in a 2-man company in 6 months? Like it takes a special person, and I did it. So as we got through, December and January, I realized very quickly, like, this is not going to work. It didn't snow much in November, December. So by the time it was snowing and around Christmas time, January, all the guys that I was going to subcontract to were like, dude, our guys are starving for work. We don't want to hire you. We're just going to work these guys overtime. And so I knew in December, January, man, this is not going to be good. And as we got closer to March, April, I was like, okay, I don't care how bad this is. I'm going to reevaluate once the snow is done and the truck is brought back. I will reevaluate and I'll come up with a new plan. And I will decide whether this is worth the agony, because losing $21,000 is agony, or can I redo the plan? So I will pause the story at this point to share the insight and what you can learn from this. When something goes wrong in business, and things will go wrong, if you lose $21,000, if you lose any amount of money, if you have a job that goes sideways, if you have an employee quit at the last minute, if anything goes wrong, you have the obligation to the company itself and the people that you employ, and by extension, your family, if your company is the vehicle in which you pay yourself, you owe it to those people to stop and pause and think about what went wrong. What were the decisions that I made that led to this demise? This is a skill, okay? So someone who does not possess that skill when something goes wrong would immediately throw up their hands and blame their competition. They'll blame the market. They'll blame the weather. It didn't snow enough. They will look at every other way to assign blame in a way to justify themselves falling short of the mark that they were trying to hit. And that is terrible, terrible, terrible way to run your business. Anything that goes wrong needs to be examined objectively. So that's what I forced myself to do. Dude, even in February when I was like, this is going to be bad, I was like, I will wait until the end of April and I will sit and I will examine exactly what went wrong and I will figure out, should I keep going? If you can learn that skill, you will run a better business. Because I see a lot of people in the pavement maintenance industry, business owners, making emotional decisions, or they think that it's like, oh, I'm not doing what I want because this is out of my control. If you're under $1 million, it's always in your control. Stop that. You got to reframe yourself, man. You got to get yourself set. You are where you are in your business because of the sum of the decisions you've made. And all that means is like, cool. Awesome. Now I can examine my decisions and make better ones. That's all you got to do. Don't be lazy and blame like your competition or it didn't snow. So in April, that's exactly what I did. I returned the truck and I was like, all right, this sucked. What did I do wrong? And I worked on that with my coach. And obviously we identified very quickly, yes, there are some things beyond our control. I couldn't control that it was a slow start to the season. But what I could control is, well, could I have sold more contracts? That would have helped tremendously. My guy operating the truck did not work that much at all. He was awesome, by the way. Could I have sold more? Yes. Could I have structured the contracts differently so that we didn't just get paid whenever it snowed? Like maybe there's a way where we could have like a fixed retainer model in case it doesn't snow. I could have done that. Could I have started the sales process sooner? Absolutely. Could I have been more comfortable and therefore improved my sales process and my sales delivery, my cadence with customers because I am now more comfortable with snow? Could I have basically been more confident when I sold, which is hard to measure, but the answer was undoubtedly yes. I probably, if I could go back and listen to some of the sales conversations I had, I'd probably just cringe in horror. So I looked at that objectively and I was like, okay, we move forward with the plan that we will do snow next year. Learn that skill, please. You humble listener, learn this skill. Don't throw your hands up in the air and complain on Facebook. Like, just look at it objectively. Stop and just figure it out. Business is binary that way. It's ruthless. The market tells you exactly who you are. So if your business is not succeeding, obviously there's going to be always things that are beyond your control, pandemics, lack of snow, whatever. That's not your biggest leverage point. Your business is not struggling. You didn't lose $21,000 because of the snow. You lost because you made a series of decisions that were not objectively wise business decisions. So one of the impacts that one of the initiatives, I should say, that we decided, me and my coach from that, was like, I told him very frankly, like, I'm not a robot. I don't want to go through this again. Because if we sell more next snow season, and this happens again, I might double it. I might lose $42,000. And I don't want to do that. And he's like, got it. Why don't we set a drop dead date, like a date on the calendar, circle it in red ink, where if we don't have X amount of revenue sold by this date, we will pull the plug. And we will call any customer that did sign with us and we will say, we're really sorry, hate to do this, but something changed in our operational plan. We're not actually able to do your snow. Here's 3 people you could call. And like, he basically framed it for me. Like, is that the worst case scenario? I was like, yeah, that would be pretty terrible. And he's like, would you survive it? I was like, well, yeah, I'd survive. Like, we just, I wouldn't operate in the winter. Any employees I had, I could just give them a layoff and like, it wouldn't be the end of the world. The business would still run. He's like, okay, well, if that's the worst case scenario, then you should probably do that. And I said, I agree. So we set the date, October the 1st. We wanted to have at least $200,000 in revenue booked. The week before, October the 1st, I signed a monster contract. It was over $200,000 just in that one contract alone. And I was like, okay, we move forward. And as I look back on our snow removal over the years, like I was running objectively a terrible snow removal company. So that second year, I mean, yeah, we sold the revenue. We ended up doing I don't even remember. I think it was like $350,000 in snow revenue, which was a big jump from where we were. I think we only did like $15,000 or something the first year. It was a disaster. So we ended up selling, well over 300 grand. And I was like, okay, this is better. Do you know how bad we were at snow? Like, we were legit awful. This is a 100% true story. There was one snow event. So we rented equipment, okay? We rented a skid steer, a miniature loader, and a mid-size loader. We had a big snow event, and one of our guys had a limited schedule. Like, I think he could only work like at 2 a.m. or something, and we wanted him to start at 10. So I was like, okay, I will phone one of my subcontracting buddies. He's got a plow truck, and I'll be like, dude, can you just come plow for us for 4 hours? And he's like, yeah, man, no problem. So I sent him to a job site. He mobilized there with the 2 other pieces of equipment. And he's like, I'll be there at 10 p.m. So he goes there. My phone rings at 10:15. And I was like, oh, what's going on? And I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, he didn't even say hello. He's like, how did you get this contract? And I was like, what do you mean? How did I get this contract? I sold it to the customer. They signed my agreement. And he's like, no. Like, I get that. He's like, how did you sell this as an hourly snow contract? And for context, the property that, we were plowing and that he was helping on was a decent sized property. It was like almost 200,000 square feet of asphalt. So pretty decent size. And so here he is on the phone asking me how I sold this as an hourly snow contract. So like hourly snow contract's pretty self-explanatory. Like you just bill the hours you keep track of how long you're there, and then you bill them once a month. Like, hey, we were here for 52 hours in this piece of equipment or whatever. So he asked me that question, and on the phone, I'm like, Tristan, what do you mean? Like, I didn't sell this as an hourly snow contract. And he's like, what's the contract structure? And I was like, oh, it's a seasonal fixed price contract. Like they just pay me in 5 equal payments. Like it's no big deal. Now I'm like really weirded out. I'm like, why are you asking me this? He starts laughing and he's like, dude, do you know how much money you're wasting by having your guys plow this property with that equipment in the way that they're doing it? And I was like, no. And he's like, dude, I thought you were charging these people hourly because they're like, these guys don't know what they're doing. They're not plowing efficiently. Like they don't have a good system. Your equipment is like all wrong for this job site. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, okay, got it. Thank you for the call. Please go, plow snow and I'll fix it from here. So that put me on this, like, again, objectively bad decision. We sold contracts that, yes, we could fulfill, but we weren't doing it well. We were like losing efficiency. So where's the opportunity there? The opportunity is like, okay, how do we get better as a company from the owner down, the owner who has very little snow experience? How do we get better at this? Same process that you guys go through in your business. Like when you started striping or sealing the first time, like you probably sucked. I remember my first couple striping jobs, and I'm like, man, there's one job I did where everything was straight, but I was using like weird goopy waterborne paint and it came out thick and the lines were really thin. It was like a 2.5 inch line, just like not good. Bad way to start, but you also learn quickly that way. And so when that happened, it's another opportunity for me to look at, like in my case, a snow program. Like, okay, I have somebody who's smart telling me we're wasting money, wasting time. How do I get better? And that set me on like a big course, man, to like go get educated. I got connected with a snow training group. I went to some of their events, joined a peer group. I started studying and like analyzing what equipment should we get to make this more efficient? That's just work, man. So like, again, I'm going to bring this back down for you guys, sealing and striping. It is your job. You have to look at what you're operationally doing objectively and figure out where the bottlenecks and where you're losing that revenue or that profitability. You have to do it that way. And so there's this delicate balance when you grow a business. Like it's chaos, man. It's absolute, like it's exhilarating to grow a business. And when you make your first 10,000 and then your first 100,000, your first $250,000, your first $500,000, like it's exciting and fun. And you can do a lot of things wrong and still sell your way to $1 million. But you have to look at how you are doing things, because I'm telling you, when you get to $250,000, $500,000, $1 million, there's a lot of companies out there that are making that kind of revenue, especially like close to $1 million, that are losing money. They're not profitable. And they're not profitable because they are making decisions that are just not good. So yeah, don't worry about failing. You're going to make mistakes when you grow your business, okay? That happens. You simply don't know the things. Like my business coach couldn't coach me through snow operations because he was in like South Carolina where it doesn't snow. So I use that as a lever to like, okay, I need to find a way to get better. I urge you to do the same thing in your business. So over the next couple of years, we still sucked, man. We got better slowly but surely. I'm going to tell you one other super quick story. I think this is just hilarious and just a real testament to how bad I am at running an operations. Like I'm good at running a company and I'm really good at selling stuff, but the actual like running an operations and scheduling and oh man, I'm terrible. So the next couple of years, we ended up doing like $1 million in snow revenue. So we're still growing and we're still like kind of flying by the seat of the pants. I'm still running the operations. I'm the ops manager. I'm desperately trying to promote from within so that I could have someone like bail me out because I'm not good at this. I hired some temporary people that were supposed to help, but I set them up to fail. So they stuck it out for a winter, but wasn't a good long-term fit. So it was just a lot of struggle. One of the biggest struggles we had was like, and I think you'll appreciate this even if you're in Florida or Texas, but like shoveling snow at like 5 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 20 Celsius. This is not a good time. Matt, is it fun shoveling snow at minus 20? No. Not a good time, says Matt. No, it's terrible, man. Like, so if you have snow contracts, like a shopping mall that has 1,000 feet of sidewalk and it has to be shoveled by 7 a.m. when the mall opens or 8 a.m., who's possibly going to do that? That job sucks. Like, good. It's awful. So I phoned one of my amigos in Alaska and I was like, dude, who's going to do this? Like, how do you hire shovelers? And you know what he told me? He's like, you find the first crackhead on the street and you give him $20 and you say, shovel until you're done. And then I'll give you another 20. And I laughed, but he was actually kind of serious. He's like, dude, it's a brutal job. You're not going to retain people all winter long. Like it's an awful job. You have to ask people to go shovel at 2 a.m. when it's like 5 degrees out, blowing snow, like shoveling for hours. It's just not, that's brutal. And I was like, okay, I got to find a better way. So the way that I found was I was putting out job ads on my personal Facebook page and job boards because it's a low skill job. So like, good job for students. The way that I was selling it, I thought I was really creative. I was like, I put in the job ad, this is a perfect position for someone who's trying to make extra money, who has a day job. They start at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. Like come shovel for 2 hours before work, basically. And my thought was, if I can get this army of people who work 2 hours every time it snows, I can just solve that with brute force. And I can collect like 20 people together, even though I only need like 8. And I could just be like, hey, if you could work tomorrow when it snows, that'd be great. But also, if you can't, no harm, no foul. And I knew that was a risk, but I did it that way anyways. One of the people who came in and applied in person at the office was like, yeah, I'll come shovel. And I was like, great, you start tomorrow. Gave him a job contract on the spot, no questions asked. I noticed on this dude's resume that his living address was really close to our shop, which is weird because Laser's shop, we're still there, is in like the downtown, like in business industrial part. So I was like, where's this guy living? He says he lives down the street. So the next day I asked him, I was like, hey, I noticed your living address. Like, where is that? And he's like, oh, dude, I'm at this like transitional home. It's called Activators. And I was like, oh, Activators. Like, what is that? And he's like, that's the transition home for federal inmates. And I was like, cool. Like that's fine. I don't care, right? I now know something that like formerly incarcerated people make exceptional like employees generally. We had who's that? Who did we interview on the podcast who was hiring felons? I'm blanking on their name, dude. Hope Seals. Hope Seals. Yeah. So their whole company, they only hire previously incarcerated people. So I was like, whatever, that's cool. Well, he went back to the home the next day and he told all his buddies there like, hey, I just got a job and I'm shoveling for this guy. And so the next day, literally 3 other people came in and they're like, dude, can we work? And I was like, this is a gold mine. This is awesome. People are coming in. I had collected this network. I'm not joking. At one point, there was like 26 people in a WhatsApp chat that I was managing. Every time it was going to snow, I would send out this blast message in this WhatsApp chat. At least 10 to 12 were always from that halfway home. And like, I was just desperate for people to show up. And I was like, if you can just show up even for a couple hours. Well, a lot of these people didn't have driver's licenses, right? So I would end up like taking a company truck and like shuttling people from the halfway home to a job site and then taking those people to a new job site. And that was the only way we could do it. It's like, well, none of these people can drive and I can't send them on the bus. We would lock up shovels on the property in a discrete location and then give a padlock code out to all these guys and just be like, yeah, unlock the thing and start shoveling. What a disaster. One day I was driving one of the guys up to a new job site and I was like, I couldn't help myself, man. I was like, hey, what'd you go to jail for? And he's like, oh, I killed a guy. And I was like, I'm proud of you for turning your life around, man. And I was like kind of nervous because I'm like, okay, I'm sharing the guy with the guy who was in jail for killing someone. And another cool guy that we actually hired was like, he was like the kingpin, like literally like the main dude of Canada's largest weapons bust, like homemade weapons. So this guy was the guy who built homemade guns. And the reason I found that out is after the guy told me he killed someone, I Googled his name and I was like, oh yeah, he was definitely in jail for killing someone. Well, I started Googling all the other employees we had who were from the halfway home. And I was like, man, we got some pretty crazy cool people, like terrifying. Like this guy built homemade guns. And I was like, man, this guy's like, obviously made a poor life decision, but he's obviously very skilled at something. Anyways, that was the process we used. And I'm telling you, like, you have to go through some of those struggles and doing things in a very goofy way. The way we run our snow operations now could not be any different. We bucked the trend. Like my amigo in Alaska who said you have to hire crackheads. It's not true. We now have a team of people on a sidewalk team with a good system, and we have like ways of getting people to job sites efficiently, and there's route plans. It's all built, and a big reason why is because I brought in smart people to help. So that is the last lesson I'm sharing in this story of snow removal. If you are growing your company today to the 500,000 mark and beyond, if you're getting close to 1 million, if you're beyond 1 million, you have to start bringing in smart people who can either sell or run your finance department or manage your operations. Like if you're good at one of those three things, that's awesome. And pick one and stay there. So for me, that was sales. I'm still the sales manager at my company. I would love to one day hire a sales manager so I don't have to do that. But what I see often happening is business owners who are deficient at something. So in my story, clearly deficient at running the operations. I could recruit and hire people easy. I could sell the jobs, but like it was a disaster trying to build a system for people to follow. I didn't know what I was doing. Identify where you are deficient and then bring in people to help. One of the things that really helped me find those people was consistently posting on social media, telling the story about our company, sharing the wins, the losses. This is what we're trying to do. And that naturally attracted people who had experience in the thing that I sucked at, come into the company and say, I think I can help with that. And we've had 2 hires in particular that have been so critical, man. They're still with us. They completely run the operations department, which is great for me because I'm so ignorant about operations. It's not my strong suit. If I have to do it now, we have enough of our system built where I could step in and do it. But man, those 2 have just built it. And so you need people like that. So to sum up the point of this episode, number 1, when things go wrong, look at it objectively. Do not blame other people. You're only going to spin your wheels, okay? Don't do that. And then identify where you are deficient. Identify it. Figure out like, what am I not good at? And the sooner that you can like either develop your current talent to do that, maybe you send them to courses and training, or maybe you just hire someone who is a specialist in that thing. Those are things that are going to help you tremendously. Not just like grow revenue either. It's just going to help you run a stable business. A lot of business owners out there are pushing to the 1 million mark and just are working their face off, man. And they're not happy. They have no process. So that's a lot of the work that I do. I work with these businesses to help them because I was that person. I had to solve problems just brutally, like through brute force and a lot of time and a lot of profit loss and just not a fun way to do it. So I hope this helps you. And as always, you can reach out There's links down below, like in this video, of like you can join the Skool community. That's super helpful. But honestly, if you just want to chat with me about like what it would look like to get direct help in your business, so that if any of those problems that you're facing, you could get help with, get in touch with me, and I would love to be able to potentially help you out so that you don't lose $21,000 in 6 months like I did. What's up, guys? This episode of the show today is brought to you by our good friends at One Crew. So if you run a pavement maintenance business, asphalt paving, line striping, one of the biggest things that has helped me grow my business from literally working out of a minivan to like 7 figures of revenue was understanding the costs that we were putting into our jobs and speeding up the process of how quick we can serve customers. What I learned in business is that it takes a lot of time to make an estimate. It takes a lot of time to get your pricing. And then you're going to hear like people like me on this podcast or other successful business people talk about job costing and know your numbers. And if you're a business owner, like you just don't have time for that. Like you know it's important, but you don't have the time. That's why we use One Crew. And I'm so happy that they sponsored this show. One Crew simplifies that. They make everything easy. So from the moment a lead comes in, to how you estimate it, to getting the proposal to your customer, and then converting that to a work order. One Crew has simplified the whole thing. It cut our time on a sales cycle by 70% in my company. The cost savings of that alone is insane. So if that interests you and you want to know more, like they give free demos. So here's what you're going to do. Go to getonecrew.com/stripe-it. getonecrew.com/stripe-it. You just need to plunk in your info, and then their team will reach out to you to set up a demo. It's totally free. I guarantee you're going to be blown away with the stuff you see. Now, if you go to that link, they will also give you, if you sign up with the program, $500 off your startup fee, which is pretty awesome. Pretty big savings. So getonecrew.com/stripe-it. Take the free demo. They're not going to pressure you. It's a great software. I really think you need to see it to understand what it could do for your company, like it's what it's done for my company.